sink up here.
I know you niggas see the haircut. Guess how much it cost your mortgage?
Oh shit, the camera is tilted. What does mercy look like? I spent a lot of time listening and enjoying Mike, but not truly getting the appeal. He didn't dabble deeply in the lyrical acrobatics of a Mavi or a No Name, or the resigned wisdom of a Billy Woods or Earl. He sort of seemed like a jack-of-all-trades situation to me. I listened to his cult classic May God Bless Your Hustle sometime in 2024 when I was still living in Atlanta. I remember I was sitting in my apartment in the dark, shimmering glass city winking through my window, and I certainly resonated with it. It's such a distinct memory after all, but I couldn't really see myself coming back to the record save for a few songs. His heart was a little too firmly wrapped around his sleeve, his lyrics a little too concrete and abstract. If I wanted to be bombarded with raw emotion, I'd go back to listening to NF, I thought. What does mercy look like? Why does sincerity chafe at us? May God Bless Your Hustle has similar subject matter to records like Some Rap Songs or Shadowbox, so it seemed significant that I was originally so much warmer to those records. Not just because I was on Shadowbox, by the way. Crazy idea. I used to think that abstract writing was just the superior way to approach the craft, especially when tackling cerebral subject matter. But on May God Bless Your Hustle, Mike is plenty abstract, and with later records, he'd go full lyrical disintegration like some of his contemporaries. I mean, he is one of the primary architects behind what abstract hip-hop has sounded like since the late 2010s, no? So that excuse doesn't work. Forgive me. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get the preamble out of the way. Michael Jordan Bonima is a 28-year-old rapper based primarily in New York. He began showing interest in hip-hop when he was living in the UK as a child, during the height of Skepta's reign. His music gains its character from heady, psychedelic lo-fi production and a confessional writing style. In his earlier works, like the album of our discussion today, May God Bless Your Hustle, he raps like a young man, stumbling up the temple steps, collapsing at the feet of the altar, and calling out to God. In later records, Burning Desire for instance, Mike sounds more out of it, like a weary man sitting with his back to the altar, talking, since God has proven unresponsive, more to himself than anything. But one thing has remained intact throughout his career, from his time on Bandcamp getting discovered by his idol Earl Sweatshirt to his recent collaboration with sparring partner Mavi, is his commitment to earnestness and vulnerability. He, for the most part, will forego much in the way of bravado or sageliness and instead simply crack open his heart on a beat that makes you feel everything. And why is that so effective and so off-putting at the same time? What does mercy look like? Not the Overwatch character. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Wasn't even in the script. Fuck it, I'm cooked. My brain is cooked. Mike often pitches his vulnerability as not just a uniquely human phenomenon, but as a naturally occurring thing. His inner person living and breathing with the soil and the oceans. On Greedy, maybe my favorite track of his, he writes, "I'm running in the same direction that the trees grow, and ask for blessings from the water when the church can't give it to me." He goes a long way to make mundane what is a staggering amount of soul bearing on May God Bless Your Hustle. You're inclined to think, of course he's showing me his soul stuff. What else could words possibly be for? And so it begs the question of why I wanted so badly, when listening to the record in 2024, for Mike to lean deeper into abstraction. I was listening to him in part because he's so universally beloved by the hip-hop community, honestly, in a way that Earl or Mavi or Navy Blue aren't quite, and I wanted to understand. I liked him, sure, who doesn't like Mike, but I wasn't convinced I was seeing what everyone else was seeing. As I played the album, I found his sincerity almost grating. I wanted him to be coy about it. I wanted him to dance around his despair, to spiral me into it, rather than drop me face first. But of course, when we measure art by what we wish it was, rather than what it is, we are committing a grave sin. So I asked inward, why is it that being submerged into a soul-eroding nightmare like Somebody Please, the opening track of the album by the way, didn't hit nearly as much as it should have? What does mercy look like? I was expecting May God Bless Your Hustle to be Some Rap Songs light. I won't lie. Some Rap Songs is jarring, but it's an abyss that gradually stares back. May God Bless Your Hustle, per contra. I left Olivia Rodrigo there. May God Bless Your Hustle, per contra, has no intention of making you believe it is looking at anything else. Normally, this is the part of the essay where I talk yet again about my own personal duels with mental health and how much I related to his album and that whole spiel, but who am I kidding? This entire essay has been me trying to write around and about my conventions. The reason May God Bless Your Hustle didn't land with me the way it should have was because I was unwilling to roll out the tarmac. I, like everyone else my age, am afraid of my own vulnerability. It's why I can barely watch my videos or read my old fiction. I lean towards convoluted metaphor because the raw truth of my interiority breaks my heart. Yet at the same time, it is entirely unremarkable. All of us, every single one of us, our psychic pain in the grand scheme of things feels arbitrary. So we refract it, joke around it, or we are ashamed of it. Sometimes because it proves we are weak, and other times because it proves we are hardened and cadaverous. And of course, as I write this, it is a cliche. I and you watching both know none of this is true, and everyone is special and worthy of love and all that drivel. We've read enough books and seen enough movies and whatever to know it's unhealthy to be embarrassed of pain. Decades of media has taught us all these lessons about shame, but its impotence merely proved to us that we were irreparable. What does mercy look like? Abstraction, the way Mike uses it on the album, is not a dressing for his pain, but a vehicle for it. More so than his contemporaries, and that scared me, I think. Because he wasn't writing around the pain. His voice, his words were the pain. And somehow he wasn't corny like an NF or XXX. I couldn't joke around this. There was no room for irony or dismissal because this was technically proficient, artful rap, and it was painfully honest. Confession time, nigga. I didn't really fall in love with May God Bless Your Hustle until after I had the idea for this video. I knew I wanted to write about it, but I had no idea where I was going to take it. Even as I write this line at 1:22 a.m. on my PC, sweating and unshowered and chronically unsatisfied with my writing, I still don't know where I'm going to land. I just remember last week when the voices of despair were cresting in me, I drove home from the cafe where I was working on my book, and I listened to Greedy, that aforementioned track, on repeat. I play it up until the spoken word intro, then loop it back again and again and again, each time waiting for those sacrosanct closing lines. I'm running in the same direction that the trees grow. And of course, the voices of despair cresting in us belong to the same stuff that the ocean is comprised of. The clouds and our rich interior lives are kaleidoscoping fragments of this absurd enterprise of a living, thinking universe. God is a kid somewhere, humming a song, planting a seed. And when I think about the closing line of Greedy, when I imagine Iroko trees cracking open the sky, it reminds me of a poem by Mary Oliver called The Wild Geese. Can you chill? You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. When I listen to May God Bless Your Hustle, the cresting despair does not hide away. It is present still. It is there as I am, as the clouds are, the ocean, the trees, Mike, all of us together at once, experiencing and, permit me, blessing each other in this ridiculous, unprecedented, and arbitrary something. Surely, if nothing else, that is what mercy looks like. Ignore the hat. Here's the thing about me. I write a lot about how we repeatedly fail to imagine each other and ourselves. It's one of the many debts I owe to Mr. John Green. The truth is, despite me putting my whole tosisi into these videos, they are not my primary craft. My first love is, and always will be, fiction. Please don't skip this. In Wonder Your People is a collection of 22 short stories, mostly in the realm of magical realism / absurdism. One of them is about a man whose wife turns into a house. Another one is about a man who castrates himself to solve his erectile dysfunction. I have a story in here written from the POV of a song. I know I make these videos more often, but writing fiction is really just my main passion, deadass. This hat is you can't do this. Come on. There we go. That's better. Goddamn nigga. Come on. Writing fiction is my main everything really. It would mean everything to me if you checked out the book. Lastly, if you do read the book, leaving a review on Amazon and Goodreads, good or bad, would be absolutely amazing. It really does help with the book's performance and also helps me improve at this craft I'm so terribly mournfully in love with. I'm really making a bid for this whole artist thing before I finish grad school and actually enter the workforce proper. So if you'd like to support me, buying in Wonder Your People or checking out my Patreon would be a tremendous help. Forgive the cliche. Also, one of the short stories is available for free on this YouTube channel in video form. It's called Felix. You can go watch that if you're interested.